Hi, I'm Kevin Cummings. At Investors Bank, we believe in helping our local neighborhoods and improving the lives of all we serve. We're a different bank that makes a difference for our employees, clients, and communities. That's why we're proud to support public television and the programming produced by the CAUCUS Educational Corporation.
Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by the Fidelco Group, Investors Bank, New Jersey Natural Gas, proud to support education in our communities, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey Sharing Network, dedicated to saving lives through organ and tissue donation, Verizon Communications, and by the New Jersey Education Association. Promotional support provided by NJ.com, Small News, Big News, True Jersey, and by NJ Biz, All Business, All New Jersey.
This is One-on-One.
When you first heard that they were doing Charlie Rose and Gayle King, didn't you go, what?
People like laughing at others, so I don't mind if the other is me.
See, you go right into the character. That's what it is.
I'm bringing families together a half an hour each week. Man, I'm doing something special.
And so I do feel successful.
I'm Steve Adubato. I'm pleased to introduce for the first time Dr. Brooke Flammang, who is an assistant professor of the Federated department at New Jersey Institute of Technology. It's the Department of Biological Studies combined with Rutgers University. What the heck is a Federated department?
So the Federated Department of Biology between Rutgers, Newark, and NJIT, it's collaborative between the two departments in order to offer the students a much broader range of courses and research opportunities with faculty.
NJIT and Rutgers collaborating. Amazing.
They're right across the street. It's great.
Higher ed cooperation, we love it. We need more of it.
It can happen.
But also you have a PhD from Harvard?
I do.
And you're not impressed with mine from Rutgers, are you? You said it off the air. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Now, I have to tell you something. You said that your research involves sharks, lasers, and robots, the trifecta of nerds. What?
Yes.
Seriously?
Yeah. I've done a lot of work looking at how sharks swim and other fishes, how they swim. And to do that, we have them swimming in this big tank, which is kind of like a treadmill for fish. The water goes around, and they swim in one spot. And in the water, we have little particles, and we shoot lasers at the particles to light them up. And then we track them with high-speed video, and that tells us about the thrust that's being produced by these swimming things.
Why do we care?
Well, the robots is part of the reason that we care. We can learn a lot of things from biology about how they deal with physics in the real world, and then use those in some of our man-made designs. It saves us the step of reinventing the way things work in nature. If we can learn from natural organisms, figure out how they do all the cool things that they do that make them individual, make them avoid getting eaten, make them better at finding food. And when we learn those techniques, we can usually apply those to a lot of robotic designs because physics is the same everywhere on the planet.
So I want to be clear, as we watch some of this video, understanding more about how fish function in water helps us understand how to use robots in water?
Absolutely.
And then has the potential of what?
Well, it depends how far your imagination can take you. So
your imagination is the thing that's more interesting. Go ahead.
So some of the things that we're interested in is I'm using with that fish particular robot that you saw, is we're looking at creating a completely autonomous underwater vehicle. That's what that was, is an unmanned submersible. It's fairly small. Something like that you can attach a lot of sensors to, put into a harbor, let it patrol. If it runs into something, it's highly maneuverable. It has a program control to be able to get out of tight spaces, turn around, and then sense things and send that information back to some central computer for people who are interested in that information.
Let's talk about who's interested. I asked you why would we care. Now I'm going to ask you who cares.
Well, the environmental protective agencies are very interested. The Navy, of course, is very interested.
The Navy?
A lot of DOD interest in these
Department of
sorts of
Defense.
Yep.
Stupid question. Why?
Why? Well, anytime that you can have something that performs better, faster, and you can mass produce things, like there's been a lot of interest in making very small, lightweight robots that are very cheap to manufacture, and you can send them out in order to gather information in areas, and you don't care if you lose them. So if you're sending them into hostile areas, you're not worried about getting those things back.
How are your students involved in this research?
Well, my students can get involved in a number of ways. I have graduate students, of course, who are getting their own PhD in training, and then also undergraduates who are interested can come into the lab. And depending on their skill expertise and the time that they have available, they can get involved as heavily as they want to. I've had students who come in for a few hours a week, help with taking care of any sort of animals that we study their swimming of. I have students that have actually done independent research, and I've had some student co-authors on scientific papers as well.
Curious about this. When did you know that you were fascinated by biology, but particularly fish?
So actually, when I was 10 years old, I came home and I told my parents that I was going to be a marine biologist.
No, you didn't.
And everybody laughed.
No,
Yes.
you're just doing that for TV right now.
I'm completely serious. Yep. I got scuba certified when I was 12.
Scuba certified?
Yep.
Where do you do that? Where'd you grow up? In New Jersey?
Connecticut.
Oh, sorry.
That's right.
So you're accessible to water.
Mm-hmm.
You get scuba certified, and then you're off to Harvard? Right?
Eventually, it was a long way there, actually. So I actually came to New Jersey for my undergraduate degree. I went to Fairleigh Dickinson in Madison.
All right.
And I got a bachelor's degree in marine biology there. And then I worked doing some dive rescue for a period of time, became an EMT and then a paramedic, and then went to California and got my master's degree, and then ended up at Harvard for my PhD and then for my postdoc. And although it's a very nonlinear path, it actually ended up all being very important for the work that I do.
Why?
All those surgical skills and medical techniques that I gained as a paramedic became very important for me when I start to outfit animals with sensors in order to be able to track what it is that they're doing when I have them swimming in my tank. So I use a lot of those techniques. I have to put them under anesthesia temporarily, attach the sensors, revive them, take care of them, and then watch them perform in the water. And a lot of those skills are very much the same.
Curious about something. Sharks.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us lay people are just afraid of them. We don't understand them. We try to stay away from them. Tell us one thing about sharks that you've learned in your research that would surprise the rest of us who don't even want to talk about them or think about them.
Sure, absolutely. One big thing that
we don't want to think about Sharknado either, but go ahead.
Well, I have two things to share, actually. In the field, I've noticed being around sharks and swimming around sharks that for the most part
You actually swim around them? Mm-hmm. You're in there with them?
Sometimes, not in a long time, but now I do mostly field lab work, but
Okay.
it has happened. And they're largely uninterested in what it is that we're doing. The majority of sharks are actually under 4 feet long. If you look at all of the species of sharks, there's very few actually very large sharks. One of the very interesting things about sharks is that they swim so much differently than all of the other 30,000 some odd species of fish that we know of. So sharks have a very stiff body, and they don't have the flexible fins that you see on a lot of other fishes, and especially in the tail. And so the tail of the shark has a muscle, a specialized red muscle.
Is that what we're looking at right now?
Yeah, you're looking at right now a bonnet head shark, which is a relative of a hammerhead. You're looking at it from underneath as it's swimming in a flow tank. So this is a shark swimming in that treadmill. And it's captured at high-speed video, but slowed down where you're watching it here. And the really interesting about the shark tail is that they stiffen this muscle in their tail, and it causes more thrust to be created than if it were more of a limp, flexible tail going back and forth. So in that way, sharks can create continuous thrust, but most other fishes, there's a pause, and so they're not as fast.
One more fish question. Mm-hmm. SeaWorld, your research.
Yep.
Talk about it.
So my interactions with SeaWorld was that they have in Discovery Cove, which is a big area where you can snorkel, they have a lot of fish in there, and in particular, they have one area with a separate glass tank where they have 2 very large remoras. And remoras are a fish that I've been interested in for some time. They have on the back of their head, instead of a fin that's normal to most other fishes, they have evolved that into a suction disc. Remoras use that suction disc to stick onto whales and sharks and marlin, submarines, the occasional diver, and hang on in order to catch food that's going by. They may even use it as a way of meeting other remoras in the open ocean. So what's really interesting to us is how do they have this underwater adhesive pad, especially when they're on a whale. They're experiencing huge amounts of drag as this animal is going really fast up and down through large, deep excursions, changing pressure and temperature. We don't currently have any technology that would have that sort of same sticking ability. And so what we're really interested in is learning how these fish stick so well to other things. With SeaWorld, it was wonderful because they have these very large, healthy remora there that just stick to the glass. And so we were able to get some incredible video footage of the disc from the other side of the glass as they were stuck, and do a lot of mathematical analysis to try and look at very fine elements you normally can't see with the naked eye, to look to see how the remoras were adjusting the parts of their disc in order to maintain that adhesion for a long time.
Man, do you love your work.
I love it very much.
I can see it.
I do.
Dr. Brooke Flammang, and you are assistant professor of Federated Department of Biological Science, New Jersey Institute of Technology. I want to thank you so much for joining us.
Great, thank you.
Great stuff. We learned a lot.
Thanks.
Stay with us. We'll be right back right after this. That's fascinating.
To see more one-on-one with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@CAUCUSNJ.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD, and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. You may have heard a lot of good things going on in the city of Newark, particularly downtown across the street from the Rock, where there's great sports activities. Well, one of the things happening, these two guys know all about. Let me introduce Mark Fonte and Jimmy Vuktilai. And Mark is the co-owner, and Jimmy is the general manager of a place called Mercato Tomato Pie, right?
Yes, sir.
This isn't just any
No.
pizza parlor, is it?
It's a special pizza parlor. It's really the essence of pizza. I mean, we really think that this is the best pizza in all New Jersey. And we really like you to come down and really try the product, because the product really speaks volumes.
Well, our good friend Mark Burson, who's not just a great philanthropist, but involved in development in the city of Newark and very much involved in what's happening down there, told us all about you guys. I got to ask you, there's a lot of activity happening down and around that area. Describe the level of excitement and enthusiasm in Newark, in that part of town, and why you guys are all in.
Well, people have been, really waiting for us to open up. I mean, Dinosaur, which is right next door to us.
Describe Dinosaur.
Dinosaur Barbecue is right on the corner of Market Street, a couple doors down from us, and they're exploding also. They really have a great product also. And Chipotle just opened up next door to us, and we're a newcomer on the block, but I think that once people try the product and come, the excitement's there. People want to see, it's a destination. It's a place where they can come, for lunchtime from their office and come for a nice pizza. And we're really proud to have a great product and great ingredients, and really, our name stems from, Mercados, and we really stress, fresh ingredients and making sure that the product at the end is as good.
Jimmy, for you, what's it like, the crowd there?
The crowd is pretty great, though. Lunchtime, it's a great crowd. We got a great crowd. Dinner time, we have a good crowd. I mean, our product, like he's saying, is a really fresh. We have the fresh clams, so we shock it every day. We have the margaritas, everything fresh, and fresh basil. I mean, we have everything we have there is a fresh product what we sell. So
for us, it's really exciting when you see people, entrepreneurs that are in the city like this. But one of the things that I heard, and we're going to actually show some pictures as you talk about it, the ovens are pretty special. Describe them.
The oven is a hand-built oven on the premises, 65,000 pounds. It's 18 feet by 18 feet, and it's actually hand-built. That was one of the first things that we built. So we really built the restaurant around the oven. The oven's really the show in the theater. It's an open kitchen. So
what do you mean a theater?
Well, when you cook a pizza, the paddles are 18 feet long. So to put the pizza in the pie, it's a process. You really got to come and see it. I mean, the coal fire, it's fired by coal fired, 2,000 degrees. Coal is a little different than wood or basic oven, in which that the coal is a dry heat, which cooks a crispy pizza. And the volume, the sheer, the oven being so big, the temperature stays always perfect. 2,000 degrees at the coal oven and the deck.
But the people who work there, from what I understand, Mark told me, the way you train them is a big deal. Describe the training.
The training process is very difficult, because it's not, again, you have to orchestrate this big paddle to put the product in the oven, and to make sure the peel slides off the peel properly, and and everything really gets cooked on that pizza, even down to the sausage and the product. Everything gets cooked and baked in that oven.
Describe the response down there in the community of Newark, where I'm born and raised, and a lot of people are talking about what's happening downtown. What do you feel down there, Jimmy?
I feel great, actually. I got a lot of response with a lot of people. I meet a lot of people over there, and they love the place. I mean, every time they come once, definitely will come back. So it's pretty exciting that people love the place in there.
Do you get a sense that all the people are, I mean, do you always deal with the issue of perception in Newark? You always deal with people saying, hey, I don't know if I want to be downtown Newark. I'm concerned about, potential of crime, violence, whatever. What do you get?
I think that the perception is there, but I think once they come and they see that there's a great police presence on the street,
they're there.
They're there every day. So I mean, I don't see any major problems where we are at all. They're nice people that walk around every day. Like I said, the office crowd is great. I mean, we're very excited to be in downtown Newark.
You didn't feel any reluctance to do this?
No.
Tell everyone, because you're also in the Yonkers area, right?
We are in the Yonkers areas, but we obviously was the major spearhead of this place was Mark Burson. You said he's a visionary. He really gets things done. He brings it from inception to completion, really, and we were behind him 110% because we feel that the product is so special. The product is not a typical pizzeria. It's probably I want to say the best pizzeria in New Jersey. You really have to come and take a look at the product. It's such a special.
And finally, before you let you out of here, talk about the family part of this, family business.
My parents are originally from Italy, Abruzzese, and they established coal ovens back in their hometown, and the process of how to bake the ovens. I mean, this is not a traditional pizza oven. It's really a baking oven, and the way they used to do it in the hometown, and a little bit of that recipe came back to Newark.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing now in Mercato.
And your family's not from Italy?
No.
Where are they from?
Albanian.
Albania.
Yeah.
And you're Italian when you have to be down there. I know you are. The place is called Mercato Tomato Pie. It is in Newark. Tell everyone where exactly?
212 Market Street.
212 Market Street. It's right close to the Rock? Are we close to?
Right in the rear of us is a parking lot, and then the Rock is right there.
A lot of activity going on in downtown Newark by the Rock, and tremendous redevelopment for our friends, and a lot of our corporate sponsors and underwriters are there, but more importantly, for those who may not have been downtown Newark, you should check it out. Performing Arts Center, we shoot there. We do our tapings down at the Performing Arts Center, more and more activities. Our partners at NJTV are moving in to into Newark and building a new studio there, and we're excited to be bringing our friends to your place and other great establishments down there. Congratulations, guys, and thank you for being a part of the success story down in Newark. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Stay right there. One-on-one will continue right after this. Good stuff, guys.
To see more one-on-one with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@CAUCUSNJ.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD, and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
Recently, my colleague Joanna Gagis went on location to discover why joint replacements are on the rise and why an increasing number of patients are opting to undergo the surgery at a younger age. Here's that story now.
Knee and hip replacements that were previously thought to be only for older patients are now increasingly being seen in younger patients. This trend is due in part to the changing medical needs of the patient, as well as improvements being made to the procedures and the implants themselves. In this next segment, we'll talk with two patients about their hip and knee replacement and the life-changing impact that it's had. I'm here with Dr. Shofit, who is the medical director for the Joint Replacement Institute here at Virtua. Dr. Shofit, what problems in the knee and the hip usually lead to the need for a replacement?
Well, usually it's osteoarthritis, which is the loss of the cartilage cushion between the bones. So in a hip or a knee, we're supposed to have a cushion between the two so that we're not having that pain of the bones rubbing together. And when that cushion erodes or disappears, it can lead to painful arthritis.
Michael Balaban suffered from debilitating knee pain before undergoing surgery in both knees, one knee using a quad sparing technique. How would you describe the pain that you were experiencing before your knee replacements?
Very intense. What I wound up having was a lot of difficulty walking up and down steps, a lot of aches, pains, tough time sleeping, just because of the pain itself.
How much did that limit your life and your quality of life?
I had no quality of life until after I had the knees replaced, both of them. I'm not an old man, I'm a young man, and I waited until I was older than 50 to have the first knee surgery. That was really limiting what I could do physically. I was putting on weight, was not able to go to the gym, was not able to cut my own lawn. So yeah, it was very debilitating.
You do a procedure called the quad sparing procedure. Explain what that is and what that means to a patient undergoing a knee replacement surgery.
Sure. Traditionally, when we did a knee replacement, you have to get the kneecap out of the way. So what we would do is we would cut the quadriceps tendon and we'd flip the kneecap out of the way and put those nice knee replacement parts on it. And it did great. Patients did wonderfully. But after surgery, they're rehabbing the knee replacement and the cut in the quadriceps tendon that we performed. And they had a lot of struggles with pain because you have a cut tendon that you're also rehabbing at the same time. The idea with quadriceps sparing techniques is, can you put those same pieces in without having to cut the tendon? It makes the surgery technically more challenging. But if you can actually do that and put the knee replacement in, then when you're rehabbing the knee, you're not rehabbing a tendon that you cut and sewed back together.
What is the impact on a patient's ability to get up and be mobile after the surgery if you're not cutting the tendon?
Our patients are able to get up and walk on it as soon as the feeling returns to their legs after surgery, the same day.
Patients who previously may have been told they should wait to get the replacement because the joint itself will only last a certain amount of time now have the option to go a little bit earlier because that prosthetic will last longer.
Right. I'm glad you brought that up because that's the old wives' tale that we hear all the time. I shouldn't get it because so-and-so told me it's only going to last 10 years, okay, which is a complete fallacy. If it's going to only last 10 years, it probably wasn't put in very well.
How long did it take before you were able to walk after the quad sparing technique?
Without assistance, probably about a week. My experience with the quad sparing was I was able to move and had increased mobility that I didn't have before.
This is Jared Orth, and he recently underwent a hip replacement surgery. Jared, describe for us the pain that you were living with before your surgery.
Excruciating would be the word to describe it. Could barely even go about my daily routine without being in pain, whether it's getting up from a chair, getting out of bed, stepping into the shower. It was really a bad quality of life and just extreme pain from sunrise to sunset and everything in between.
How did you make the decision to undergo the hip replacement surgery?
It affected my life personally, even professionally, and I just was tired of the pain. At the time I was 37, so I felt I had a lot of life to live and I didn't want to delay the process any longer.
Jared's hip replacement also avoided cutting the tendon, which, like the knee, can be a very painful part of the recovery process.
There are a number of different minimally invasive procedures for the hip. A new approach, more novel, and certainly has been out there more recently, is to go from the very front of the hip. And you don't cut any of the tendons to get into the hip. So again, it's technically more challenging, but if you don't cut the tendon when you go in and do the surgery, then they're not rehabbing a repaired tendon after the surgery.
So how quickly were you up and walking around after the surgery?
Surgery was at 7, I was out at 9, and I was out of my bed and walking laps around the hallway around noon. So less than 3 hours.
Were you surprised by that you were actually up and walking?
I couldn't believe it. To tell you the truth, I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't really expect myself to be out that quick and, without any pain. The pain was immediately relieved, and you could tell that, things were going to be a lot better than they were the day before.
While other patients' experiences may be different than Jared's and Michael's, physical therapist Laura Say explains that increased mobility after surgery allows her to treat her patients more effectively. Now, Laura, for you as a physical therapist, how does it impact the therapy you're able to provide if they have mobility very quickly after the surgery?
Well, that makes the physical therapy quicker, and I can move them into more advanced activities. Plus the fact that they don't have pain and I'm not creating pain is huge.
In terms of a patient's ability to get out of the hospital and to get back into what feels like a more normal setting, how does that impact their recovery time?
That's huge because not only are they back home resuming their normal activities as they're going to outpatient therapy. So to get them to come out as an outpatient is a big step.
There was physical therapy leading up to and following the procedure. Explain that for us and what that looked like for you.
When I had my first knee done, I really did not have any physical therapy prior. When I had the second one done, I was put on a physical therapy regime prior to the operation as opposed to just post-operation. I think that knee is, to some extent, stronger than the first knee, just because I had the advantage of the additional physical therapy.
Of strengthening the leg.
That's correct.
Prior to it being operated on.
Yes.
The more you move the knee after surgery, the less it's going to hurt. So right after surgery, even before they get their feeling back, when they have just the muscle control, we start them moving their knee. And it doesn't hurt as much when the feeling comes back because they're already moving it. And if it starts to hurt, they keep moving it more. And with the combination of pain pills and mobility, that's what allows them to get up and get moving and get home.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the CAUCUS Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by the Federated Group, Investors Bank, New Jersey Natural Gas, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey Sharing Network, Verizon Communications, and by the New Jersey Education Association. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.
Hi, I'm Eric. You might see me as an ordinary person, but I've been living with a brain injury for nearly 2 years. One of my struggles is short-term memory loss. At Opportunity Project, I'm given hope and support, and I've gained my confidence back through the job placement program. Despite my challenges, I have a reason to keep improving. Today, even though life has changed me, I believe that anything is possible.
If you have a brain injury, you don't have to face your road to recovery alone.